Okay, so here's some extra examples for section 4 or 5 to kind of go through and hopefully make sense of. Um, so the first couple here I'm going to look at are the top, and I like these problems because what they do is they force you to try to use the theorems, or at least figure out what's going on with the theorems and what we'd have to have. So here's what we have. We have to come up with the triangles ourselves. So we're going to do angle, angle, side. So we have Q and P as our letters. So I don't know, we'll call this like PQR. And this is S and T, and we'll call it, I don't know, like um, um, STV. And here's the deal. P has to correspond with S, Q has to correspond with T. So it has to be S, T, and then like a third letter V. So what we're saying is we know that angle Q is congruent to angle T in those two triangles. And we know that PQ is congruent to ST. So the question is, if I wanted to use angle, angle, side congruence, what would I have to know to be congruent? Well, what I'd have to know is another pair of angles are congruent, and specifically the angle they didn't give us, angle R, okay, and angle U. Okay. So that's what we did for these 4 problems here in class, is we'd have to know those statements. Okay. All right, now, and we went through the rest of those. Okay, now for developing proof, we're trying to prove these two triangles are congruent. The reason I picked this problem is because of the fact that uh, the triangles overlap. And that's the thing you just got to be used to working with is overlapping triangles. And my trick to that, if I get stuck with overlapping triangles, is I just draw the triangles separately on their own out like this. And I label it's ZUW, and then it's XVW. Okay. And I know that Z is congruent to angle X. I know that WV is congruent to WU. WV and W, that's what's given. So the question then becomes, okay, what else do I need to know for the problem in order to prove something? So we have these two here are given. Oh, sorry, I'm running out of space here. Those are both given, given. And here's the thing, it says reflexive property of congruence. Well, reflexive property means that something is congruent to itself. So the question is in this drawing, what's the same that they both have? And it's hard to see it separate when you see it together. They overlap with angle W. Okay, and we can just say angle W is congruent to angle W because there's only one angle W in the problem. And then by that, what postulate do we have? We have angle, angle, side. That's going to be our postulate we're going to use. Okay, so here we go. Now, some of the proofs from homework. Start off here at number 19. Number 19 is a good one. What I like about 19, to be honest, is it gets to something that we need to be used to working with, and that's parallel lines. Okay, so one of there are tons of things in a lot of these problems, but if you see parallel lines given to you, the one thing you have to note instantly is, what do we have of parallel lines? Well, from chapter 3 we had congruent angles. So that's the key. Parallel lines give us congruent angles. So in this problem then, I have to find a pair of congruent angles. Now the way it usually works with that is either they're corresponding angles or they're alternate interior. So we're looking for, in the F shape, angles in the same spots, or in the Z shape, angles in the corner of the Z. Which, if you look at this drawing, here's the line, here's the line. If this is the transversal, guess what? Here's your Z shape, there's your pair of angles. So angle H is congruent to angle K. Now that gets us one pair of angles and they gave us a pair of sides to begin with. The question is, do we have another pair of angles, another pair of sides? Well, we do have a pair of angles because we also have vertical angles, which we've worked with quite a bit in class this year. So those two angles are congruent. And now we have angle, angle, side, so we can prove the triangles are congruent. Okay, so statements, reasons. 1, FH is parallel to LK given. Step 2, GL or GF, excuse me, is congruent to GL given as well. Okay. Now, step 3. Okay, in step 3 here, now we're going to bring in some congruent angles. So we got our sides, let's get in a pair of angles. So we could say angle H is congruent to angle K because alternate interior angles are congruent. Okay. And then for number 4, we could say that angle, and we have to use a 3-letter name here for this one, FGH congruent to angle LGK because vertical angles are congruent. And then we can say that the two triangles are congruent by angle, side. So phi triangle FGH is congruent to triangle LGK by angle, side. Okay. All right. Kind of a space in this one, so let's go another one next. Let's look at this number 21 here. Again, I like this one because it's got parallel lines. So we look at our statements and our reasons. Set up our T-chart for that. Okay. More importantly, look at the drawing. They gave us two pairs of sides are congruent instantly. So I already have that. And they gave us a pair of sides are parallel. Parallel. So what that means, we must have a pair of angles that are congruent. Now, the question is, how do we know that? Well, parallel lines here, parallel line here. Here's the transversal. That is an upside down F shape. We have a pair of corresponding angles that are congruent. Okay. So, statements. 1. Vx is congruent to xy, and xw is congruent to yz, and xw is parallel to yz, given. Okay. Step 2 then is angle VXW is congruent to angle XYZ. And that's because corresponding angles are congruent. Again, hopefully it's legible. And now that I have that, I have side, angle, side, side, angle, side. So triangle VXW is congruent to triangle XYZ by side, angle, side. So it kind of fits in out of nowhere. Doesn't really fit with this section, but again, a lot of these things build over and over with each other. Okay. So if you have any other questions, please come in. I'll be around. Before after school sometime we can figure out what's going on. This is again just a few examples to catch up if you missed something or if you needed to review something. Thanks.